Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Daily Market Report brought to you by Mike Bjork. Today is Wednesday, Hump Day, and it's September 6th. We got a bit of economic news, or not really economic news, but we got a lot of stuff to go over today. So, economic news, we got a couple items here, and we'll start off with the market services PMI for the month of August. So, July we had a 56.9. And in August, it dropped down to 56. Now, on these two gauges here, both for the services industry, anything above 50 is considered expansion. Anything below, it becomes a contraction type of standpoint. So, ISM non-manufacturing index, or also ISM services index, it's also called, for the month of August, we had for July 53.9%. Forecast was to increase to 56, and it came in at 55.3%. So it did increase, not quite to expectations, but it's still up there and shows an improvement there. Later today, we could expect possibly a little volatility. By 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, the Fed will release their beige book. Now, the investors will be looking for any clues as to when and how the Fed might be reducing their balance sheet, and if there might be anything to any possibility on a rate hike, any more rate hikes this year. Now, the Fed funds futures came in recently, and they're showing about a 36% chance of any further rate hikes for basically the rest of this year. So they're almost expecting no rate hikes to come in by the end of this year, and that's obviously because inflation's so low right now. Year over year, we're about 1.4. It's been stubbornly low. It's been remaining low. Part of it, of course, as we mentioned on this program, is that wages aren't really increasing as much as it should be, and that's what's keeping inflation lower. So let's take a look here at the headline news. Stock market's a little mixed. The market all went up earlier. They're all up, rebounded a little bit after yesterday. They got hit pretty hard with the news. The Dow was closed like over 230 yesterday. But they have pulled back some on their gains when they opened later in the morning, even NASDAQ turning negative. We still got North Korea on the mind a little bit because one of the concerns there after testing for their nuclear program over the weekend, there's concern that they might be testing one of their missiles in intercontinental ballistic missile system. They might be testing on their Founders Day on Saturday, which is the 9th. So there's concern that there might be, or worry that they might be testing the missile, and this would be the same missile that would carry those nuclear weapons, which is creating a bit of tensions between the U.S., its allies, and North Korea. Also, of course, in the news is Hurricane Irma. If you haven't heard, this is a Category 5 hurricane. Is being rated as one of the strongest hurricanes on record out of the Atlantic. Winds are reaching so far up to 185 miles per hour, are now starting to hit some of the Caribbean islands. They're putting out alerts for people like in Puerto Rico, Florida. They're not expecting it hit the U.S. maybe till this weekend. But obviously, those areas were, our thoughts and prayers are with those folks that in those affected areas. That after having that catastrophe in Texas, obviously, the last thing we want to see is more catastrophe in other parts of the country, or even same areas for that matter. So our thoughts and prayers are with those folks in there. Another thing that might be coming up is may not get a lot of attention because obviously the big news is that there's another tropical storm brewing up. Of course, that's the last thing we want to hear about, but Tropical Storm Jose is out there, and that could be potentially something that could obviously turn into a hurricane as well later on. So, obviously, this is kind of a reminder that this is hurricane season. We just hope that we can get out of this with minimal damage as possible, and hopefully people in those areas will be all right. So, again, our thoughts and prayers are with those people in those affected areas. Another item on the docket is Trump's business-friendly agenda. Some investors are starting to get a little skeptical. They're not really feeling as confident that these things are going to get through. As we're seeing a lot of things time after time again, Trump's having a hard time getting things passed through. Even though we have a Republican congressional, he's not really getting much assistance from the old party lines here. So now investors are not feeling like a lot of things are going to get done here. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the bond market. And the bond market, as you can see, is continuing that rising. Look at that. This nice long trend upwards here. We started the morning off a little bit, about 5 basis points. Now we're about even where we left off yesterday. So pricing's going to be about the same as where we left off yesterday. If they didn't do a price for the better yesterday, they can probably you'll probably get a little bit better pricing today. As you can see, we have a pretty big spike from 103.60ish range all the way up to almost 103.80. That's almost, we closed up about 34 basis points. So that was definitely a nice improvement in the day for pricing on there. So let's take a look here at the Treasuries here. And as you see, we had this pretty big drop here, this downward trend for Treasury yields here. And we had a pretty big drop yesterday, almost about 10 points here. We're down about 1 point right now currently, which is obviously good for mortgage-backed securities. That's helping out interest rates get better. We're currently about the 206 right now, and this will be in a range between 217 and 1.98. So before the elections last year, we were between 170 and 180. And we could potentially be hitting that floor at 1.98. So we got room there to drop even further, which would give us better interest rates for the long term. So, and again, historically speaking, September is always usually a pretty bad month. But with all these geopolitical events happening around, from the hurricanes to tensions with North Korea, and of course we're talking about Congress. They need to raise the debt ceiling to passing out their budgets. Stocks are going to be almost sitting on the sideline, which will help out interest rates. So it looks like September could be a good month for interest rates. Okay, you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys again want to come over to Twitter and catch more updates throughout the day, just come over to Twitter. I'm at Mike Bjork. Again, if you guys are also in the need for a mortgage, I am a mortgage planner. I can help you out with those needs with purchases and refinances. Just go ahead and email me. Best way to communicate. Have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.